Alright, it is time to do some book reviews for Shannon Reads Those Books Exploration. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and as promised, I'm here to do some bad book reviews. That doesn't mean negative reviews. Actually, this is half and half. Two of these titles I liked, two of these titles I did not get on with. And these, as my disclaimer video introduction for these, are not going to be great reviews, but it is for me. I need to catch up with this project, so I was feeling stunted, and so I'm reviewing books that I read, some of these more than a year ago, some of these not that long ago. But yeah, I just need to do it. I need to talk about them a little bit, get the review done so that I can continue on with the project. My Those Books project is an exploration that I started in 2014 where I put together a bunch of lists, a bunch of book lists to capture some iconic, classic, influential and zeitgeist books, and these are mostly, I'm reading them mostly for greater cultural context. Like hopefully I like enjoy them, but they're also works that are influential that get referenced, and so I don't always enjoy them, but that's not always the point. And I've come to learn that and understand that, and that has been very helpful. And I think. Because it's not, for me, it's not all about did I like it? That's a question that I do like to ask. It's actually literally one of my questions here. Did I enjoy it? But it's not the only thing. It's not the only thing for me. So let's just get to the books. I don't quite, this is the first one of these that I'm doing. I don't know if it's the first one that I am going to post, so I'm not quite sure how this is going to all shake down. So let's just start on this train wreck with A Christmas Carol in February. So yeah, so let's talk about some stats. So this is by Charles Dickens. It is the 37th book that I read for the Those Books exploration. It was released in 1843. Wow, that's really early. And it is on two of the lists. It's the 47th pick for the BBC Big Read, and it was the 79th pick for the Librarians list. I actually read this one twice, which is shocking because I didn't actually enjoy it. I read the text edition in December 2017, and I read the Classics Illustrated comic in 2018 for the holiday book bingo. So yeah, this is one that I've never been super fond of this tale in any of its formats. I've seen multiple different film versions, including Scrooged, and it's just a story that doesn't resonate with me. I feel like as Ebenezer Scrooge, he is such a Scrooge. Like he's such a grumpy person, and I never feel the transitory moment with him. Like I feel like you see it, but I felt it like when I watch it, but I don't actually. I don't know. I just don't believe his character turns the tide. Isn't that horrible? And it's such a dark tale for something that is generally like a time where you want to be happy. So, and I guess the resolve is, but I just never really feel it. I don't feel like he turns a tide. He seems, like he has, it's also, and even he has the capability to be generous because he hasn't been generous. So, yeah, it does not work for me. I know it's a really wonderful classic story that a lot of people enjoy, but it didn't work for me. So, we're on to the next one. So, bye bye, Christmas Carol. And now we go on to Half Blood Blues, and this is by S.C. Edugyan. Thank you, Britta. I went back and watched one of her videos about Washington Black because I've never been sure how to pronounce his author's name. I actually have. I read this in physical edition. And so Half Blood Blues by S.C. Edugyan. And this is from 2011. It is the 37th title I read for Those Books project. It was on one list. It was the 25th title on the list of 25 classic Canadian novels. And I read it from October 2017 to January 2018. And I gave it 9.5 stars. I forgot to say what I gave. I gave A Christmas Carol 7 out of 10. Not stars. 7 out of 10. Half Blood Blues, 9.5 out of 10. I absolutely adored it. It was one of my favorite books of the year. It was not an easy read. It's a dual timeline historical which I know a lot of people really love. One of the time periods is right before World War II in Paris, and then there is another time period in the 90s, but it's mostly told in the earlier time period, and it follows a group of musicians. And it was extraordinary. Like, I don't even really know how to talk about it. I was so impacted by it emotionally. It was such an emotional journey, like not just because of the war, that was definitely, of course, a part of it, but the emotional journeys of the different characters and how real they felt and how complicated and complex they were as human beings. How, like, I felt for them in all of their choices, in their reactions to experience. It was beautiful. It is one that the hype is real in terms of it. This won the Giller. Yeah, Giller Prize winner. My copy says that too. Giller Prize winner, which is a Canadian award. And and it was lots of other awards. Awards. It was a finalist for the Man Booker Prize. It was a finalist for the Governor General Awards, and it was a finalist for the Rogers Writers Trust Fiction Prize. And then it won the Geller. So for me, that one was like, the hype was real. It was worth it. It was a harder read, both in terms of the content and also because it is literary fiction, and I don't tend to read a lot of literary fiction, so I can find that just a bit daunting. Now that I know that, I find it daunting. Before I was just like, yeah, I'll read it, and then I'm like, why is this taking me so long? Because it's a harder genre for me. But it was worth it. I'm so glad that I read it, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the best ones that I've read for the entirety of this project, and I'm up to, I think, 44 titles, so it's definitely worth it. Next up, we have one that is much beloved, but not by me. And that is Sherlock Holmes's The Hound of the Baskervilles. So this is Sherlock Holmes number 5, and I did read the first 3. I read Studying Scarlet, The Sign of Four, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I skipped the memoirs because I just wanted to get to this one, because I was reading all those in anticipation of this one, because this one has a bit of history with me. It is the 39th book for those books exploration. It was released in 1902, and it is on the BBC Big Read number 164. That's how it makes the list, and I read this in March and April last year. I must have read it for March Mystery Madness actually, and I gave it 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. So I have history with this book without question, because it was a book that we read when I was in school, and I thought it was grade 4, but when I think of sitting on the carpet in a circle, I know that that room was actually grade 5, so that's 10 years old, and someone else in the class had said that they had already read it and they really loved it, and I was like, really? And I read it and I didn't understand it, and I felt self-conscious and confused and all of these things, because I liked reading, but I didn't understand it. I did not understand it, and that made me self-conscious about this title, and I have been avoiding it, and I wanted to pull the band-aid off and just be like, what, I can read, I'm smart. It's just some of those things that you hold. And I literally, eventually I came to think, and now I kind of feel like that kid didn't read it. He must have read some kids version, but I know other people who have read this book at a really young age that I trust that they're telling the truth. So I'm like, maybe he did read it. Whether he did, whether he didn't, I don't know. The hilarious thing is here, many, 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 many years later, many, 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 many books later, I read this. I did not understand it, so it just doesn't work for me. So I think I am done. I'm going to close the door on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I am so sorry for all the people who truly love his work. But this is one thing where I can say that, one, I actually feel, again, I feel less self-conscious now, because I didn't get it. I found it hard to follow. It is really dry. I found it confusing. And I even know the story because I've seen adaptations where this is a story, for other Sherlock Holmesy things where they talk about the story, so I knew where it was going, and I still didn't understand it. So it's just not a good fit for me. That's okay. So mostly, so I just want to I think I have sort of finally let it go. And I do enjoy Sherlock Holmes generally. I do enjoy adaptations. I love Elementary. It's one of my favorite shows. And I like the Guy Ritchie films, or at least the first one. And I loved Houdini and Doyle, which was a TV series. I think it was last summer. That was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini, and I really like that. So it's not like the world. It's just I don't comprehend the reading, like the writing style or whatever. And I've read older works and I've read newer works, and also mysteries is not a great fit for me. So I think I have given it an honest try, and it's time to let it go. It's time to let it go. So it was a bit of a relief that it wasn't a relief that I didn't understand it, but it was a relief that I didn't enjoy it. Isn't that weird? Oh my gosh. Okay, so last for this set, we have Death of a Salesman. I actually have this in physical edition, so which is a bit lighter. Let's go with that. This is a play by Arthur Miller. It is the 42nd book that I read for the Those Books exploration. It was released in 1949. And it makes the list because it is on the Book Riot 0 to Well Read list, and I read this last year, October 2018. If you're interested in the lists and all that stuff, I do have a Goodreads link list for all of these books, and I think I have a blog post somewhere that has links to all the individual lists that I cobbled together for the Those Books project, because I know this is one that I've worked on a lot, like I've worked on for a long time, but I haven't been talking about it as much, so I will give some context down in the description down below if you're interested in that. So this is, as I said, this is a play, and I read it last year. I read it because I was not reading as many titles for this project or for this exploration, so I wanted to read something I could finish. So I read something that was very short, because this is like 130 pages, and I think yeah, and I think it's 2 acts, and this is one that I feel like I feel like I should have read the Wikipedia page afterwards. I did enjoy it, but it's like there is definitely a cultural context piece that it is making commentary to, not, and I feel like I missed it maybe a little, but I do feel like there's also like it's also very much a family drama of two parents, and they have like a uh, the parents, the mom and the dad, and then they have two sons, one of which who goes away but doesn't have a lot of success and keeps on coming back and going away and coming back. And then the younger son, I can't remember as much about him. And then the dad is the salesman. And for me, this one is very heartbreaking in a lot of ways, because his character has this sort of like what I took from it was like he's so strong in his opinion, but he talks the talk, but it feels like it's not that he doesn't walk the walk, it's that the walk doesn't walk anymore. That's what I got from it, that it was disillusionment, that times have changed but not adapting. And that heartbreak of that, and the fact that, he's trying to advise his son on advice that his son is probably not going to take, because it actually is not going to work. It's not something, the relevance has changed, and so that's what I took from it, is this sort of sadness and this disillusionment, and then also this sort of idea of feeling outdated, but disillusioned, using disillusionment to pretend things haven't changed. And for me, that was heartbreaking. The whole, like, I think it's really important, sometimes hard, to face reality, but to continue to pretend that everything's okay when it's not is one of the most heartbreaking things. It truly is. Sometimes that's a defense mechanism, and it can serve you for a time, but eventually you gotta face facts. So for me, like, this is a drama. Like, it's a play, so it's drama, but it is drama. But I do feel like during maybe like I don't remember as much about, they call tragic hero, redefined the tragic hero as a man whose dreams are at once insupportably, oh wow, yeah, insupportably vast and dangerously insubstantial. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. heartbreaking. I've never seen a production of this. If you know of a film adaptation or even a televised adaptation of a play version of this that you would like to recommend, I would love to hear it. But it was well worth reading. I ended up giving an 8.5 out of 10, and it hurt. It hurt, but in a good way. Like, not a good way, but like, it is a well-crafted story, and it reins you in, and you can't look away, and I felt something when I read it. So there you go. Two ones that I loved. And actually, isn't that funny? They're the two that I have physical copies of. The other two I read digitally because they're public domain. So yeah, two books that I loved, two books that didn't love, but am really glad I finally gave them a shot because they are these iconic classic works, and that's what I'm working through here. So it was lots of learning. Let me know your thoughts on these books if you have read them, and I know these aren't traditional reviews, and they're going to be a bit all over the place, and I'm going to have lots of them, and I'm going to try and I'll release them over time, so it won't be overwhelming, hopefully. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to the project and or the exploration, and to enjoying some new titles, like newly chosen titles, and some, yeah, this actually, when I think about it, that's not too bad. 2 hits, 2 misses, that's fine. And learning along the way, so that's all good. It's all good. Yay! Woo! Making progress! Yay! Thank you so much for watching. There will be more videos soon.